Fun. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome. You are here for the Live with Lesli show. And I'm really excited about what I have in store for you today. I think it is going to be an awesome conversation. And for those of you that don't know me, welcome. I'm Lesli Vitel. And I am a practice building expert, and I specifically work with health and wellness practitioners who want to attract more clients, sell more programs, and grow a profitable practice. And I'm so excited about today's show. I have Carrie Dennett here from Nutrition by Carrie. And you'll see for yourself, Carrie is awesome, very successful. And so today we are going to talk about the hidden benefits of being a multi passionate entrepreneur or solopreneur, and really taking a deeper dive into why having multiple irons in the fire can help solopreneurs pivot in this post pandemic economic climate. So I really think it's a timely topic, and I think you'll find it really interesting and full of solutions. So that's always our goal, right? Is to make things a little bit easier for you. So, with that being said, I guess a little bit of background. The pandemic kind of was a surprise in terms of, for a lot of people, they saw an incredible influx of business, which frankly was perhaps a little bit surprising, right? We didn't really know what to expect. And, but very interestingly, just how that impacted, the market and client behavior. So now, in some cases, we're starting to see a leveling out in some businesses, and some are even seeing a little bit of a dip. So we just wanted to address that head on today. First of all, to let you know that if this is you, you're not alone. And secondly, to share some thoughts and ideas that we have to help you to move forward. All right. So without further ado, let me introduce to you the one and only Carrie Dennett. Hey, Carrie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, Lesli.
Good. I am so delighted to spend some time with you. Like I was saying before we hit that go live button, such a treat. So I'm delighted, and this was such a good topic, and I think again just so very timely in many aspects. So, give us a little. Well, let me back up. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because I'm pretty sure I probably have a few people on this call today that maybe don't know you. So give us a
Probably.
little bit of your story and what you're up to, what you're doing, a little bit about your business.
Yeah. Well, just my quick background is I was a journalist before I became a dietitian about 10 years ago. And so, now I do both. I have a virtual private practice, which I actually started before the pandemic. I must have been psychic. And I also do a lot of writing. I've had a weekly nutrition column for the Seattle Times for like 12 years, which is amazing to me. I actually started it when I was still in grad school. And I write for Today's Dietitian and other publications. So really, those are the two parts of my dietitian world, the seeing clients one-on-one and the writing.
Great. So you came to the table with a very significant skill set, and that is journalism. So what a great combination.
Yeah, I enjoy it.
You
And
must have had a magic ball, right? Um,
right.
or maybe you just followed your passion, probably that, and it just happened to be such a winning. Did you ever imagine yourself, like when you went back to school to, pursue your career in dietetics? Did you have this in mind that you would, kind of combine the two areas of expertise into an amazing career path?
A little bit. I think one of the things that prompted me to go back to school to become a dietitian was that I kind of had moved from doing newspaper journalism into healthcare copywriting.
Mm.
And I kind of realized I wanted to be an expert. I wanted to be a nutrition expert. And so that was one of my prompts. But I remember when I was in grad school attending FENCI and going to one of the nutrition entrepreneurs networking events and a couple different dietitians I talked to, when I said I have a journalism degree and I write, and they were like, "Oh, you'll be fine."
Exactly.
That's
Yeah, it's such a phenomenal combination. And, even if you weren't writing professionally, I just find, who would have known all the copywriting involved with being a private practice entrepreneur, right?
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
I gotta tell you, for me, like it's really surprising. Like copywriting it's a critical skill set for where we are. So that's great for you. What a winning combination.
Mhm.
So, all right. So let's dig into our topic today. I think, again, this is so perfect. And I'm glad that we're just going to delve into what you're seeing. And again, most importantly, really try to uncover some solutions. All right. So, what changes did you see in your private practice during the pandemic?
Yeah, well, fairly early in the pandemic, I started getting more requests for discovery calls and my client load started to increase. And I always kind of held a cap on how many private practice clients I wanted to have because I did do so much writing.
Mhm.
But especially when we got into 2021, it got to the point where I was seeing double what I had set my patient cap at. I mean,
Yeah.
it was crazy. I mean, the flood of discovery calls coming in, and even though I wasn't converting every single one, I was converting a really high percentage of them. And that really continued through the middle of last year, so the middle of 2022, and then things just kind of dropped off. It was like interesting.
Wow. Okay, and this, did you say the middle of 2022?
Yes.
Okay, so like, June-ish of last year.
Yeah.
Okay, and were you able to diagnose, like, where maybe the disconnect was? Um, to the best of our ability, I think it's really good to, like, to look at your analytics, and I know your husband, is an amazing web developer. I'm sure he looked at your analytics, or maybe you both did.
Mhm.
Just curious, like, what did you observe as kind of the root cause?
Yeah, no real change in analytics, so that wasn't it. And, I didn't really think too hard about it, and because my mindset was like, well, January, even though I work in a weight inclusive anti-diet space, I still traditionally would get more clients around, January because all the diets are being advertised, and
Right.
even if people don't want to go on a diet, they are feeling a little bit of angst. So I
Yeah.
thought,
Triggered, right?
January,
They see all these yeah, I'm sure
yeah.
it's very triggering.
And January was still crickets. And so, I'm involved in a number of dietitian groups, and I kind of brought this up, and I found that other dietitians, including ones in my niche, were seeing the same thing.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, it's not just me. And, we've speculated about what it is. I don't know that anybody's been able to put a finger on it.
Mhm,
Certainly, our post pandemic world has opened
mhm,
up more. I mean,
mhm.
not that COVID isn't still out there, but I think we're pretty much post pandemic. Maybe people are spending more money on travel.
Right.
Maybe people are, especially for people in private or in virtual practice, maybe people are zoomed out. Um, there's we've speculated, but nobody can 100% put their finger on what the
Hmm.
difference is.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think one of the key takeaways is, again, if you yourself, my audience, if you guys are seeing a little bit of a lull compared to where you were before, I think an important note is, it like a lot of times we'll kind of blame ourselves, like, oh my God, people they don't want what I'm offering anymore, right? Will kind of even take it personally. I mean,
Absolutely.
and it's understandable. But the really important thing, and regardless of this trend, I always like to remind people, like, it's not about you, right? It really isn't about you. If you really look at, I always, try to help people look at, what was that inciting event? And what you're describing isn't like an event, it's more like a period of time, right? So
Mhm.
it's not like it was a thing that happened, like, oh my gosh, I got, 3 no's on all 3 discovery calls I had this week, right? It's not that. Um, but regardless, we want to look at, what was the event, as much as we can wrap our minds around what is causing us that angst and that anxiety. And then, what story are we telling ourselves to try to explain that situation? And a common story is, I must not be good enough. People don't want what I have, right? I don't know enough. And so we want to really examine that, right? And reframe. I think the reframing process is critical.
Yeah, and I think something that's helpful is, hopefully all of us are collecting testimonials from our
Yeah.
clients, or even if our client doesn't give us a formal testimonial, we when we finish working with them, they say nice things. It's like to look back and it's like I have helped people. It's like that's undeniable. So it's like, yeah, it's not me. I think as dietitians, we have to kind of resist the fix it impulse with our clients. And I
Yeah.
think we have to also kind of resist the idea that something is wrong with me and I need to fix myself. So
Agreed. Right. Yeah. It's not about us, right? It's just not. Even if you were to get three no's in a row, it's still, I mean, of course, we don't want to put on our rose colored glasses and, deceive ourselves of reality. But, really for the most part, like we do our best. We provide great results, but at the end of the day, we can't like reach through the phone and control somebody's thoughts and behaviors, right? It's just
no,
like, it's just not possible.
no.
So,
Yeah. I think we can get curious and kind of look at, is it something
yeah,
about how I'm counseling or what I'm doing? Is it? And then like kind of check that against the facts, which is again,
love that.
testimonials are definitely a fact that supports how well we're doing what we're doing.
I love that. Approach it with curiosity versus judgment and assumption, right? That's so
Mhm.
important. Yeah. Okay. So I'd love to, let me see. Let's look at the comments. Let's see. Oh, Women's Nutrition Clinic. Hey, Eleni. So Eleni says, I also saw a very busy load starting in COVID, then noticed big change starting in September. So kind of around that same time frame, right? So it is helpful to hear more perspective on these trends. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on what that's about, Eleni? I don't know if, like if you've been able to do any diagnostics on that. And again, one of the things to look at is, is it the number of leads that has shifted? Is it your closure rate? Are you getting on the phone with people? And then they kind of, get scared and end up saying no, or I can't afford it, or now's not a good time. I'm curious as to what you're seeing. Um, okay. So kind of looking at this then, so you started to see some shifts. And again, things were going gangbusters, like you were actually having to put a limit around the number of clients, and especially the number of private clients you were seeing. And I do remember that. So how did you feel about, these shifts and changes?
Well,
How
yeah.
did that impact you?
At first, I felt a little bit of relief because I think, especially as 2021 merged into 2022, I was flirting with burnout. I was not at burnout, but I definitely was feeling a little crispy around the edges. So at first, I was like,
It's a good way
okay,
to put it.
yeah, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then I started to kind of worry a little bit, but then I was like, hold on, I can't control what other people are doing. It's like, well, what can I do? And that's where I kind of saw an
Mhm.
opportunity to do some of the things that I frankly didn't have time to do when I was seeing, for what was for me an elevated client load. I and one thing I did mention earlier, some of us have been speculating that I think concerns about the economy, the talk about
Mhm.
food prices going up
Yeah,
and recession and inflation, even if it's not directly impacting people, could kind of create fears about
sure.
spending money that isn't essential.
Right.
One of the things I did is I've been wanting to start a subscription membership program for a long time,
Yay.
as a lower cost offering. And so I finally did that. It launched in February. I don't have a ton of people in it, but it's
Nice.
growing. And it's a nice thing for, I do have one person in it who had a great discovery call with me, but she's, she's married with a young child and just didn't feel like she could invest in my one-on-one services right now, but she's in the group. So we're still, cultivating that relationship. A few of my former clients who, didn't want to do my official continuation program, or they did for a while and they were fine, they're in it to kind of keep touch. And I have some brand new to me people in the membership program. So an
Oh,
opportunity
that's awesome.
to build like, know, and trust. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Such a good strategy, and such a good solution. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about, I'm going to guess a lot of people are going to be curious about this.
Yeah, so I just started it. The platform I use is Member Vault, just because, and I think I kind of got, I don't know, they switched their payment tier, so I'm kind of locked in for life at a fairly low price, which is good because a lot of the platforms are fairly expensive, and I didn't want to go the route of doing like a membership plugin on my website. So yeah,
what held you back from that? I'm just curious because I know you've got the tech thing going on at home, right? So what is the disadvantage to having a login on your website?
Yeah, mostly I was looking at cost.
Okay.
Because when you start something like that, you don't know how it's going to go. And I've had the experience in the past of paying for Thinkific or other programs for courses that didn't really sell a lot. So I wanted to keep my overhead low. Now, at some point in the future, I might decide to go the route of one of the, the plugins. And like I said, I've got my husband who can help me do it. So I, even though I do a lot of things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And now, do you use Practice Better?
I do.
Okay. So, so question for you, because I'm sure many people in our audience do use that platform. Did you consider housing it there?
I did, and there's very specific reasons why I didn't. I've been using Practice Better long enough that I am locked in at a legacy price tier.
Okay.
And so to do a membership program, I would have to upgrade to the next tier, which would also, if you change tiers, then you go to whatever the current pricing is.
Oh, okay. It was financial.
I weighed all of these options.
Yeah, guys, I do. So if I were to pick one question that I'm getting almost every day is, Lesli, how do I start a membership? Right. It's, and I do think if you guys probably could, you guys know my profit pyramid model. So, it's funny now, like a lot of people in my audience, I think they could practically like teach it, like what all those different levels are. So a membership, I would say it's probably a mid-level, right? Especially because your goal is to get people to commit over, a longer duration, like hopefully a year, 6 months to a year. But the thing about that model, it is like you really do have to watch your costs because, it's a low barrier investment, right? So you're not gonna, people are not paying high ticket just to get in the door, right? So it's super, super important to really be very cognizant of your costs. And some of your costs might have to do with your time in managing the membership, right? Because, there's tech things. I'd love to hear, like, people, oh my gosh, especially when you're dealing with volume and you're dealing with the public, right? I'm sure, they're going to have tons of like, where's my link? I can't, I don't know where to go, like all those kinds of things.
Yeah. So basically in my program, I offer a monthly webinar, a monthly office hour where they can ask me anything. And then I just started, and I sent out polls periodically, like, here's some things I'm thinking about adding.
Yeah.
What would you be interested in? And quarterly book club came up. So we started that for April. We're reading the book More Than a Body. So for my webinars, I'm pretty much cannibalizing an old course I had. So that's getting me through the first year of content. And then office hours, I just have to show up. I send out an email every Friday, and I'll include the Zoom links for what's upcoming, and I send out another email like an hour before. So,
Okay. Now I'm curious about the office hours. So are you doing that on Zoom?
yes.
Okay. So is it you just kind of show up on Zoom and whoever pops in and out?
Yep.
So it's
And
not private. It's not like it could be you might have 5 people, you might have, however many people show, they come and go. Okay.
yep. And then I, both that and the webinar on Zoom, I record them, but I post an audio only recording
Okay.
for the office hours on the off chance that anybody, asks something they really don't want their face associated with. I don't know, just for
Okay.
that confidentiality and
I
stuff.
get it. Especially, yeah, I think in healthcare in general, that's important, but especially with the work that you're doing. So,
Mhm.
which leads me to another question, maybe slash assumption, and that is it sounds like you zeroed in on the intuitive eating niche for this particular program. Was
Yes.
it a mix? Yeah.
No, it's intuitive eating. A few of the people in the group have asked me like more general nutrition questions, and that's fine because I feel like people who are doing intuitive eating, they might have some other thing going on,
Right.
so it's fine. And I've made it clear that it's like, yeah, so you guys, you can ask me other things.
Okay, great. Okay, I love that. So, yeah, and I would definitely concur with being really specific. Like, it's marketing strategy, right? Especially for a membership and some of those leverage scalable offers, the specificity, I believe, becomes more imperative for
Mhm.
those types of offers, right? Because yeah, it's kind of hard to mix, right? Like IBS and intuitive eating in one. Like the people, yeah, they don't want to hear about each other. It's not relevant to them unless they themselves have both problems.
Which is interesting. I mean, again, I haven't gotten any new IBS clients lately, but most of the IBS clients I've had, when they read about me and they know that I also know intuitive eating, that's what drew them to me. Uh,
Mm,
in some cases, it's because I've had a few IBS clients who had eating disorders like a while ago. I mean, they're fully recovered. So going on the low FODMAP diet isn't contraindicated, but they just want to know that I understand, that I'm there for them, that I will help them navigate this in a way that's not going to possibly re-trigger something.
oh,
So,
so good.
yeah.
Yeah. And what's really interesting about not to go off on too many tangents here, but but I will a little bit, uh, is just the overlap with those two niches. It's
Mhm.
if you have a history of like the chronic dieting, the deprivation, it sounds like the research is showing you're at a higher risk for gut issues.
Mhm.
And interestingly, as you guys all know, if you have a patient or a client with a history of like really significant IBS and gut issues, there's a lot of fear involved. And so their diet just becomes so incredibly limited for fear of triggering their symptoms.
Mhm.
So it's interesting how it like there is definitely an overlap between those two niches.
Yeah, with my clients in both niches, one of my goals for them is as much food freedom as possible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So exactly. That's awesome. All right. So back to our topic. So you started to notice a dip, and did you notice it impacting like other, I guess other parts of your life, other parts of your business? Any other comments on that?
not really. I mean, I guess one of the things I did when I kind of saw that this dip wasn't just going to last for a month or two, and I had no way of predicting because, alas, I do not have a crystal ball, couldn't predict how long it was going to last. I was like, all right, well, what are my other income streams? It's like I've taken more writing assignments.
Yeah.
Like I think many months for today's dietitian, I write 2 articles for them instead of one.
Okay.
Which I couldn't do that before, even though my editor often asked me to. It also cleared space. Something I'm super excited about is I created a course on mindful eating. It's going to be an Audible original.
Oh,
There's
wow.
by the company's Wondram, which used to be known as the Great Courses, which I think a lot of people have heard of. And
Yeah.
so they kind of have a thing where they produce some things for Audible. So it's all recorded. I wrote it, scripted it, recorded it in a studio, and hopefully it'll be out.
Wow, that's exciting. I didn't even know Audible had courses.
Yeah, they do. And again, like I said, Wondriam just has kind of a thing with them where they produce a certain number of courses, and Audible has to kind of sign off on them,
Mhm.
But so that's exciting, and that's something I wouldn't have had time to do
Right,
if I had my bumper crop
right,
client load.
right. Because it was too crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so so what would you say has been different as we moved, if you were to kind of encapsulate what's been different as we've moved away from the height of the pandemic? My takeaway so far is that we're not really able to put our finger on it. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Not we can't put our finger on it. I mean, human behavior, as we know, is a tricky thing.
Yeah, and just consumer behavior in general. Yep. So, all right. So in terms of solutions, so guys, we're gonna move into solution-based ideas at this point. I mean, one solution is, I mean, you guys have been hearing me preach this for probably years now, multiple streams of income, right? It is so important now, more important than ever, right? We need to provide a variety of different entry points for our clients. Case in point, Carrie's membership, right? She's
Yes.
starting to notice a little bit of a drop. And instead of kind of becoming paralyzed with fear, she said, what can I do? What can I do? The first thing was, since she already had a writing career, accept more writing gigs, right? But
Mhm.
not all of us have a side hustle writing, right? That's another topic. Carrie and I talked about, well, maybe on another Facebook Live, Carrie would be willing to share some tips on that. Um, but another solution is, really look at your offers and look at how you can build out your profit pyramid, right? P.S. I am going to be offering this, just a little sidebar, just decided yesterday at my team meeting, we are going to be offering a lucrative course blueprint live this spring. So stay tuned. It is right around the corner. I'm going to teach all the classes live this year, and I'm going to include 3 like Q&A and coaching calls. So it's going to be really super robust. So that is around the corner. So do be thinking about, how you can add an additional revenue stream into your business. Maybe, a lower cost option. And I love one thing Carrie said that really is interesting is, these people that are joining her membership as a first step, right? And the idea is there's going to be a certain percentage of those people that are going to develop that know, like, and trust with Carrie as a result of being kind of in that, that membership program. They're going to realize, gosh, I really love her. I love her approach. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting results, but I want more. I want to dig in deeper, right? So it is kind of like I don't know, like a pool of people that you can develop, and they develop that know, like, and trust, and a certain percentage of them are going to want to move up that profit pyramid into your higher level programs. Wouldn't you agree, Carrie?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it's, progression. My hope is, that people who follow me on Instagram might go to my website and sign up for my newsletter. And then people on my newsletter, might decide they want to work with me. And maybe the membership program is for some people the logical next step. And
Yeah.
I've definitely gotten clients who have been my newsletter subscribers because they tell me I've been reading your newsletter for a while, or they've been reading my Seattle Times column for a while. So however we can build that like, know, and trust is so
Right.
important.
Yeah, I love that. All right. And what you just said kind of reminded me of another really, really important concept. Guys, now is the time to double down on your marketing efforts. It is really time, like, it's time to revisit your foundational elements of your business to make sure that things are in place. And I'm talking your messaging, your offers, your pricing. Do we need to build out additional offers to capture people that, maybe are not quite ready to step into your higher end programs? But it's also really doubling down and showing up. Like, that is the part. And this is another part of our conversation that I want to have right now with Carrie, because here's what I've been hearing a little bit. And that is, I got super busy during the pandemic, things like exploded, and I stopped doing all the things that I was doing to bring in clients, or I just became less consistent, right?
Right.
Show of hands if you can relate. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, right? We all do it. We get super busy. We're like, I don't need to do that anymore, right? Okay, now is the time to circle back around and re-implement those strategies that work, to really focus on increasing your visibility, positioning yourself as the go-to expert. Because here's the thing, people still need help. Like, these problems, they haven't magically disappeared. If anything, they're worse than they were before, right? Right, Carrie?
Right, absolutely.
All right. So talk to me about that, Carrie. What are your thoughts around what I just said?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. When I was really busy, it's like I don't need to worry about marketing. It's like everything's taking care of itself.
Right.
And so now, like I made a goal about 6 months ago to get really consistent about Instagram because it was always hit and miss. And so
Okay.
now I spent some time last week going back and developing a plan, more strategic plan for my Facebook business page and for LinkedIn, which I've been on LinkedIn
Oh,
forever.
bravo.
Always neglected it, never did anything with it. So now I'm like, okay, I need to be more strategic
Okay.
about
Yeah.
using that tool.
I love that. Okay. So you're doing it. You this exact strategy of, like, okay, what do I need to do? Where do I need to show up? How can I fine tune those strategies to get better results? And maybe what are some new things that I neglected before, but now I have time for? LinkedIn, guys, I don't like, hardly anyone ever comes to, no client hardly ever, I can't even think of anybody who's come to me in 9.5 years of doing this that's like, oh, I'm good to go on LinkedIn. It's like, seriously, hardly anybody really uses it. A few people. I do follow some practitioners on LinkedIn, but not very many. And guys, I gotta just say that's a great opportunity, because let's just be honest, the gram, a little tough to get seen there. Facebook, a little tough, right? Like, let's just call it. It's a pay to play kind of place for the most part. For sure, Facebook, your business.
Literally pay to play now. I mean, Twitter is officially, Insta and Facebook are moving that way.
Yep.
So yeah, and I'm focusing on there. I think a marketing tip I got recently is like, you're really not going to probably convert clients from social media, but if you can get them on to sign up for your lead magnet and get them on your newsletter list.
Totally.
So yeah, so I don't promote my one-on-one services. I'm focusing on promoting my lead magnet and sometimes my membership program because it is low cost.
Because it's low cost, right? Exactly. And I think that's doable. But yeah, I always say, like, your social media is not really to sell. Like, really think about, when is the last time you got to say, it's kind of rare.
Yeah.
So we really want to use social media as a mechanism to expand our reach and to grow our email list. Like, be clear on that. And I love what you just said. I always tell my clients, like, get rid of your advertise, or, the one link you can use promoting, grab a session with me, because nobody does that. But what they do want is instant gratification, right? They want that tip sheet, ebook, or cool freebie. And that's what you should be promoting on social to make, it's pretty simple. Like, and well, anyway, I won't go on and on about it, but It's really true. And LinkedIn, guys, that is really becoming more of a content platform. It's not just a place where you go to look for a job when you're you know, unemployed, right? So it's really becoming a content platform. One of the things that we started doing is, well, there's actually another couple things I want to mention about LinkedIn that are kind of cool. One is LinkedIn newsletters. Have you tried that yet, Carrie?
No, when I was kind of digging into LinkedIn and like what I should do, how I should update my profile, that came up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I don't think I'm 100% ready to do it, but at least I know about it and I know
Yes.
that's a tool I can use.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Like and you've got like so much content, like it's so easy. So like with pretty much zero effort, I mean, zero effort meaning all I'm doing is repurposing my content. Yeah, I mean, I think I last time I looked, I had 900 new followers. Just and
Wow.
we're talking, I do nothing except just post and but specifically for LinkedIn newsletters,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Super easy. Now, here's the other thing that I want to mention with LinkedIn. So, one of the things that I found really intriguing with LinkedIn is I had heard that if you publish on LinkedIn, and I think that just meant newsletters, although it might have been that publisher feature as well, that it was searchable on Google. Okay. I'm like, that sounds great. I got to see it to believe it, though, kind of thing. Because I just kept hearing that. And then this actually was just a few days ago. I did a quick search for somebody. I was like, well, let's go online and let's just see. Lo and behold, the first thing that popped up on my Google search was a LinkedIn article that someone had written. So, guys, that's the beautiful thing is you can spend tons of time on Instagram. And no, I'm not knocking Instagram like at all, but let's be honest, what is on Instagram stays on Instagram, right? Like it's not searchable. The only way people are going to find you is through that application. So what's really cool about LinkedIn is it's the opposite, right? So like it is searchable. So in other words, if someone is what is the FODMAP diet or something like that, and you have an article in LinkedIn, it is possible that you are going to pop up. So pretty
Yeah.
cool, huh?
I did hear, I think Instagram is moving where if you have keywords in your captions, and I thought I
Mhm.
saw even in your actual, like the image post, that might be searchable
Online on
on
Google? Oh, that
Instagram.
would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, searchable that way. So it's not just about hashtags. You want to get your keywords in the caption, but
Right.
still, I feel like I mostly use Instagram for community, for learning from other content creators,
Yeah,
and then yes, hopefully driving some people to my sign up, get my lead
yeah,
magnet, and get on my newsletter list. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it can be a great place. I do see a lot of people kind of burning out, spending so much time there. So that's also a thing. The other thing is YouTube, right? So I'm a big fan of YouTube, and I'm definitely placing more of my eggs in the YouTube basket again because it's searchable, right? So, really, the bottom line, though, guys, I just want to emphasize is really now is I just want to repeat it is the time to double down on your marketing efforts and really get serious because things in, as an entrepreneur, it's very cyclical, right? So you want to be well positioned to, when things start to improve again, you want to be right in the forefront in terms of visibility. And the reality is, people like there's not like this magical thing happening in the world where people don't need your help. Like they need your help more than ever. So don't forget that as well. There are people that, and there's lots of people out there that are needing help, and we just have to be well positioned and ready to capitalize on that. So get busy, look at your marketing, make sure that you go back to, I would say, let's go back to pre-pandemic strategy, before we had that nice little boom, right?
Mhm.
Anything else you want to add about that, Carrie?
No, but I think, yeah, it's like if some of us are just not as busy as we would like on some things, taking that time to form marketing, social media strategies that will help us no matter where we're at in our
Right.
business, lay those foundations now that maybe we're have more breathing room than maybe we wanted, but we have it nonetheless.
Exactly. So yeah, I just say let's leverage it and, take it as perhaps an opportunity to do some of the things that maybe we just didn't, we kind of brushed aside as not necessary. We got to go back to basics, truly.
Mhm.
Um, so, all right. Any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share on this topic as we kind of start to wrap up for today? Time flies, right?
Yeah, I know. No, just kind of along the lines of going back to basics. I don't do it so much myself because I have a virtual practice, but for people who have, brick and mortar, networking, in-person
Oh
networking.
my God, yes. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
yeah, and I know some dietitians that have hybrid practices that have definitely been doing more at the in-person networking. And even for virtual practices, I think kind of going back to social media, kind of being more active, people who if we belong to Facebook groups that are in our niche, being more involved and active and interacting, not just posting our content, but we can build relationships that way too that may lead to, fruition, in a financial sense at some point.
I really, really like that. So that is one thing that has shifted kind of post-pandemic is, things are a little, not maybe not 100%, but much more back to normal in terms of in-person opportunities. And, my philosophy has always been a little bit of both, right? You want to have some in-person kind of community-based strategies, including networking. I would really recommend if you don't have a great networking group, now is a great time to look around and find one that's a good fit. It gets you out, right? And a lot of doors open just as a result of talking to people. It's amazing how that works. So, let's make this an opportunity to get out, like literally get out behind your computer. Like, let's stop hiding behind the computer and just, really, I think a revenue producing marketing activity is networking. It is one of the best ones. So if you don't have a group, I'd recommend, and it doesn't even have to be a group. If you're like, I just, live in a small town, maybe, a group just isn't, something that you can do or want to do. Talking to people is still really good. Like keeping in touch with people, reaching out to maybe, you know, friends, colleagues, anyone that would just be happy to talk with you, just catch up, and just kind of update each other, see if there's an opportunity, for collaboration in some way. So, yeah, got to get ourselves out there, right?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Carrie. It's been just such a pleasure. And I love, just this conversation in that, just kind of talking about the elephant in the room, if you will, right?
Yeah, we need to talk about these things because if we don't, then we just think it's just us and we're broken and something's wrong. And it's like, no, it's
No,
not.
no, not at all. Not at all. It's not you. Um, so, all right, guys, I hope you found this incredibly helpful and I hope you learned a lot. And Carrie, thank you again for sharing your wisdom and your expertise. And I would love to take you up on having a conversation at some point around, the whole the concept of writing. Because I
Totally.
know that's a big one. And I know lots and lots of practitioners would love to do that. And also, like we had touched on a little bit, like working with brands,
Hmm. Yeah.
right? Working with brands, that would be awesome. All right, guys. So lots of good stuff to look forward to, right? All right. So for those of you that celebrate Easter, happy Easter. And I will look forward to seeing you all back here, same time, same place next Thursday for another Facebook Live. All right. So take care. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.